Hay un embichado en el pueblo.
Estás asustando a mi familia.
¡Lo vi con mis propios ojos! ¡Estuve con él! Esto va a ser un infierno.
When Evil Lurks. As soon as I heard about this one, I was excited for it. Releasing at the same time as the new entry in the big franchise, Exorcist Believer, and also dealing with possession, this film had a lot to try to overcome, and personally, I think it did it and then some, at least with its content. This movie is everything that the new Exorcist wishes it was. Unfortunately, it probably won't beat out the box office, but I think that's okay. For now. Disappointing, but okay. Let me explain. This film, originally titled Cuando acecha la maldad, comes to us from Argentina. It is a Spanish movie with no English dub, but it does have English subtitles. Set in a rural town in Argentina, the film follows two brothers as they discover a plague of deadly demonic possessions starting to overrun their small town. Trying to escape while they can, the brothers run into hardships with their extended family, among other surprises. Right away, I need to warn you guys that this movie is brutal. It has extreme sudden bouts of violence and exceptional gore, but it never has too much that it becomes cartoony like Evil Dead does. There's no focus on the gore, the focus is on the violence. No, this is a very grounded film trying to tell a story of evil and desperation and cruelty. I think it sets up perfect intrigue in the opening moments. The brothers discover a desecrated body that looks chewed on, and then very quickly a giant bloated possessed person labeled a rotten, and that's just the first few minutes. There is so much in here that I just cannot spoil. This movie will shock you, and it will do everything it can to make you uncomfortable, and I love that. I love feeling uncomfortable in movies when that's the point. Another one of my favorites is Starry Eyes, which makes you uncomfortable watching this woman slowly decay. This one makes you uncomfortable because you're scared of what's going on, of what the brothers might run into, and what they're trying to do while everything else is going on. It's wonderful and unique in its own way. The main actors propelling the story here are the brothers, played by, and I apologize if I mispronounce any of these names, Ezequiel Rodriguez as older brother Pedro, and Demian Salomon as younger brother Jimmy, or Jimmy. These two put in such a good performance, especially Rodriguez as Pedro. His fear, frustration, utter devastation, and everything else is so palpable and so believable that it genuinely hurts to watch at times. Everyone in this film gives solid performances. Even the child actors for what happens in this film do a fantastic job. There is so much to like about this movie. Everything from the acting that I mentioned here to the special effects to the cinematography. The gore, again, feels realistic and gross, squishy and disgusting, but not over the top with blood spraying like crazy whenever someone gets a wound or whatever. It's very reserved in that regard, and I quite like that. This movie isn't interested in being over the top and having a focus on gore, but instead in being overly cruel. Characters get frustrated and act out, they cry and break down. Terrible things happen to seemingly good people, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. The symbolism is especially heavy and a little obvious at times, even including a sign of the beast pretty prominently. There's another scene that involves a very slow and methodical hammer strike that acts similarly to the ticking of a clock chiming the end, and it's wonderful how that is used, and is not just a hammer banging down repeatedly, but is instead very slow. Not even every second, but every few seconds, just whack, whack, whack. It's perfect for the scene that it's used in. It's just really, really good. There's another very interesting scene with an axe that I cannot spoil. It's just, all of it is really, really good and just meshes together so well with the overall theme and pacing. It's just how this movie feels. It is very slow and very methodical in its execution, including the pacing. Like I said, it's very slow and precise, but it never feels boring. just overbearing at times, which has to be intentional and I think is a wonderful thing to have. The film is just 99 minutes long, but because of this, it feels closer to 2 hours with just how long some of these sequences are. But then there are also very, very short sequences or scenes that tie into other longer scenes later with little details. And it's just so good. There's an awesome detail with shadow play as well, signaling the arrival of evil, and one really, really neat part with the small houseplant shadow that was adjusted to look like a person with glowing eyes on the wall, and it's never brought up into attention, but it looks so cool and is just so smart. Small little detail that nobody in the movie calls out, and it just looks so damn cool. The director, Demian Rugna, clearly knows what he's doing, especially with foreshadowing and character reactions. His previous film, Terrified, or Aterrados, is another favorite of mine that I actually recommended in last year's Halloween video, which I definitely suggest you watch that video as well. There's a lot of fun movies in there. I have good suggestions, I think, anyway. But this director is proving that he is definitely one to watch. Terrified is actually getting a sequel as well. I don't know if this one is, it's way too early to tell, but again, this director clearly knows what he's doing and has a vision for the future, and I cannot wait to see what else he puts out. It's just been that good already. Everything about this movie works, because Rugna knows how to work the camera and the timing and direct the actors effectively. Again, this is a slow movie. I wouldn't call it a slow burn just because there's plenty that happens in small amounts of time, but it is a bit plodding, especially when characters start talking to each other and having long conversations or arguments and discussing things in order to let the sudden, shocking violence and horror hit much harder than it otherwise would. There's plenty here to keep viewers engaged throughout the whole movie. I will say though that this movie isn't perfect. It really isn't a 10 out of 10. It's close, but it's not. Some character decisions are very, very stupid. A lot of people will probably call that out saying like, well, why did this guy do this? Why did this other person do that? That's stupid. He could have done something completely different. And usually I agree, especially in the movie with actions being called out by other characters as stupid, but I feel that that's excusable in this movie for a lot of reasons, mostly because of how broken down and frustrated the characters are. They make dumb decisions because they let their emotions and frustrations get the better of them and are punished for it. I will say that it isn't the smartest writing to do that, but it is a way that makes it very understandable and furthers the ending theme of this movie that I'm not going to spoil. Lastly, there is a bit of a cultural disconnect that I can see happening as well. This movie has a very, very distinct relationship with possession and exorcisms and involves very specific wordings and titles to certain characters and their jobs. I am not entirely sure if it was made up for the movie's world or if it is some sort of Argentinian culture that I just don't know about. I did try looking it up and all I found was a lot of Argentinian law about drug possession and not the actual demonic possessions, but okay. I can definitely see a lot of casual moviegoers getting a little confused, especially about halfway into this movie. If you're not paying attention, it can be very confusing. You have to know what a rotten is and what a cleaner is, and that the rules that evil follows are. They're all explained in the movie, but a good chunk of the beginning of the movie kind of expects you to know what they mean, which just feels a little weird. Like maybe they could have explained that a little bit earlier, but at least they do explain it. You just have to wait till halfway into the movie, but otherwise you can piece things together through context clues, so it isn't really that big a deal, but I can see it turning a few people off. Either way, I don't think it's that big an issue. I really kind of hate how this got a limited release, and most people probably won't see it because of it being a foreign language film, which historically don't really do very well in America, unless it's anime, but those usually have dubs, but whatever, and the limited release. This is going to be streaming on Shudder come October 27th, because Shudder bought the streaming rights and distribution, I believe, but it is still an extremely solid film that I implore you to see in theaters if you can. It is incredibly strong and deserves recognition across the globe, not even just America and Argentina. Just, it's so good. I hope more people are able to see and dissect this movie because it is really it's really good and has so many details that people can talk about and think about, like, what does this mean? What does that mean? It's just a lot of fun. I hope more and more people see this because this has the makings of being a historic classic. It is so good. Give it a watch. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But ultimately though, When Evil Lurks gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. I know it's not Exorcist Believer, but I'm really not that interested in that movie after seeing the very negative reviews it's getting, and after I found out that the director is the same one who did the Halloween reboot, and I was not a fan of the last Halloween movie, and so I still have a sour taste about that, and I do not have high hopes for this. It's almost a shame because I still love the Exorcist TV show. That was fantastic and had wonderful actors, and it ended on a cliffhanger after 2 seasons. Feel like you should have just picked that up instead of going on for a whole other soft reboot continuation movie, whatever. I'm probably not going to see it anytime soon. But this was a wonderful exchange. I hope a lot more limited release movies end up coming out like this, maybe in a wider release. It's just that good. I want to see more horror movies out of Indonesia come to America. I think that'd be really good. I have a fascination with a couple Indonesian horror directors. As far as this goes, I really liked it. Everything about it works so well. There's so much to talk about, and hopefully it gets more people to go see Terrified. I can't believe it took this guy 6 years to come out with a new movie, but whatever. Terrified is fantastic. Give that a watch. It's also on Shudder. Give this a watch, and then get prepared for the sequel to Terrified because that's happening, and I'm giddy. I'm excited. I can't wait to see more. That's all I got right now. Anyway, after all of that, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about this? Do you want to see some more? Do you want to see more Demi and Rugna? We need more directors like this. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know. And yeah, that's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a